Math Morning, Mr. Dirk is back at it again. Today we'll be graphing quadratics in standard form.
When you hear quadratic, you might think of the quad stacker from Burger King. This thing had 4 patties of deliciousness. But in mathematics, quadratic, it means something different than a quad stacker from Burger King. And we're going to find out how to graph these quadratic functions. Let's go. So let's graph some quadratics. And what is a quadratic? If you look at this, the highest exponent is a 2. And so a quadratic, that is a second degree of polynomial. So if you look at a function and the highest exponent is 2, it's a quadratic. The name quad, you might think before, like the quad stacker, it's an old Latin word. All right, if you have a square and you have an x and an x, right, there's 4 sides, I call it a quad. X squared, there you go right there. So that's where the name comes from. Over here, this is standard form. We went over this, I think, in the last chapter. Standard form. Standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So the coefficients in front of each of the variables, we call it a, b, and c. And it always goes, the x squared comes first, and then the bx, and then the c. So when we graph these things, what I like to do, and it becomes more important in, I think, 10.4, like that chapter, we have A, B, and C. I want to write down what the numbers are. So in this one, the A, the coefficient, is 2. The B, that's right there, is -4. And the C is 1. So first thing, you want to write down what each of these letters are. And then I give you a table. And if you want to graph with a table, you have to take the x values, put them in the equation, and solve for y. So this first one right here, when x equals -2, so I just plug it in. Y equals 2 instead of x, I do -2 squared minus 4 times -2 plus 1. Then I have some simplifying to do. -2 squared is 4, so it becomes 4 times 2. -4 times -2 is a plus 8, and then I have plus 1. Then I simplify again. I do multiply first, so 8 plus 8 plus 1, and 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17. So when x is -2, y is 17. So you can do this, and feel free to do this for every single one. If you have a graphing calculator, you can use that, or we can use my old friend Desmos. So let's take a look at Desmos. Oh, don't look at that. Don't look at that. So we've used this before, and what you can do is type the equation in on the top left here. So it's y equals 2x squared minus 4x plus 1. You see it actually graphs it for you, but I want to find all the points in the table. I want to fill in the table. So if I click this button up here, all right, then I've got convert to table, duplicate. Well, I want a table. So if I hit that, boom, it gives me all these numbers for my table. So if I want to write this or transpose it onto another piece of paper, like for a quiz, you can use these numbers. So I'm going to take this, go back, I'll even paste it just so I can keep it on the same page. All right, so here's my table. I can cover that, you can fill it in. So if I plugged in points from this table, -2, 17, that's way up there, I can't really find that. -1, 7, -1, 7, all right, that's right there. 0, 1, 0, 1, that's right there. 1, -1, 1, -1, that's right there. 2, 1, 2, 1, that's right there. What about 3? What would 3 be? If I want to find 3, I believe I can click back in this table, type in 3, oh, bam, 7. All right, so let me go back to my graph. 3, so it's 3, 7, 3, 7, right there. And you can connect these points. They look like that, and they go on forever, going up. All right, so this is the graph of a quadratic. Mine is not as pretty as Desmos, but it gets the job done. So this is how it looks. All quadratics, they look like a U. They either go up or they can go pointing the other way. We'll learn more about that later. But some important things are the vertex and the axis of symmetry. The vertex, that is the maximum or minimum point. So that means what's the highest or the lowest point? On this graph right here, well, you have a lowest point. So this is the minimum right there. So the vertex is 1, -1. All right. The axis of symmetry, that is a vertical line that crosses the vertex. So this line right here is the vertex. In this case, it's an equation, x equals 1. So whatever the x value is, you put that into the equation, x equals 1. And the axis of symmetry, it's like a butterfly. If this folded over, the wings would be the same. These are the same distance from both of these points, the same distance from these points. So any points on the right or left side of the graph will be the same distance from the axis of symmetry. And there's an equation to find that. It is x equals -b over 2a. And the b and the a comes from these up here. So that's why it's important to know those. So that's everything. That's how you graph. Let's try some more. So here we go. Second one. And you notice this one says f of x, right? That's function notation. If that's freaking you out, just remember it's the same as y. Okay, so this table down here, normally like this point, I would say f of -2, right? That will be there. But just remember, this is just like a y. So anything you put here, it will be the same as for a y. So before we grab this one, I want to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex. I look at this equation and I want to fill out my a, b, and c. So a is -4, b is also 4, and c is 8. All right. So the axis of symmetry, if you remember, the formula is x equals -b over 2a. So my b value, my b is 4, so it becomes -4 over 2, and what was a? A is also is -4. All right, so when I simplify, it becomes -4 over -8, and that simplifies to 1/2. So my axis of symmetry is x equals 1/2. All right, there we go. So if I graph it, there's 0, there's 1. The axis of symmetry is right down the middle of those two. When I find the vertex, I take this value and I plug it into the equation. So function notation, check this out. F of 1/2 equals -4, and whenever I see an x, I'll put in the 1/2. 1/2 squared plus 4 times 1/2 plus 8. So if you're trying to find it, you could do the math, you could figure this out. But let's see if we can figure it out in Desmos. So when we graph it, we've got I think you can even write f of x. Check that out. Equals -4x squared plus 4x plus 8. All right, there we go. And let's make a table for this one too. All right, so I've got this table. I can copy it. I think it's good. Bam, put it over here. Select it. All right, so here's my table. All right, where's the 1/2? Ooh, Okay, there's no 1/2 in there. So if I want the 1/2, I got to come back and put in the 1/2. Okay, it says my vertex is 9. I can verify over here, if I look at the graph, is showing me these points from this table. If I click on that, yep, it was 0.5 and 9. Okay, so let me copy this graph, this table right over here. Alright, that's more like it. So if I'm going to graph this, I can just pull out the points now. So we have -2, 16. Alright, that's not on the graph. -1, 0, and that's right there. 0, 8, that's right there. 1, 8, 1, 8, alright, that's right there. And 2, 0, that's right there. So you can see all these points, they kind of have matching points, and they're the same distance from the axis of symmetry. In the vertex, right? So that's on the axis of symmetry. X is 1/2 and y equals 9. There you go. So it's okay in my class to use Desmos. When you take the MCAS or when you're in Algebra 2, you're going to have access to these graphing calculators, and you can do this on the graphing calculators too. But it's important to know how to do it if you don't have access to a calculator or a computer. Right now I'll be doing out this long way right here. And just to see, are we going to get the vertex that was 1/2, 9? Will we get 9 if we simplify this? Well, let's find out. F of 1/2 equals, okay, 1/2 squared is 1/4. 1/4 times -4 is -4/4, so that becomes -1. All right. And then 1/4 times 1/2, that's 4/2, and that equals 2. And then we have the plus 8. Okay. -1 plus 2 is 1. 1 plus 8 is 9. So we did get it. So if you feel comfortable doing this way, right, you can do it this way, or in my class you can graph it in Desmos or on a graphing calculator. All right, now we're on to the last one. Before you try it by yourself, I want to just do the A, B, and C for you, because you look, we're missing something. It has the 3x squared, so the x squared, the number in front of that, that's the A, so that's 3. But the x part, right, is, you could even write this as 3x squared plus 0x minus 2, right? There's nothing for the x, so the B is 0, and the C is minus 2. So there you go. I want you to find the axis of symmetry, find the vertex, fill in the table, graph it, do it on your own. All right, go. All right, axis of symmetry, that is x equals -b over 2a. The b is 0, so it's -0 over 2. The a is 3, which simplifies to 0 over 6, which is 0. So it is x equals 0. All right, so that's going to go up like this. Pew! Right down the y-axis. So the vertex, right, we're going to put this in the equation. I'm going to be fancy, do the f of 0. Check that out. Equals 3 times 0 squared minus 2. This simplifies. Remember, this could just be y. If you want to do y, that's okay. 0 squared is 0. 0 times 3 is 0, so it's just -2. All right, so the vertex is x is 0, y is -2. And remember, this should always be a point, right? If you just have -2, that's not it, right? It's a point. So 0, -2. Bam, put a big one right there. Now we gotta fill the table out. I already know that 0 is going to give me -2. And instead of graphing it on Desmos, I'm gonna go old school. I'm just gonna fill them out. So let me start with the negative 2. F of negative 2 equals 3 times negative 2 squared minus 2. F of negative 2 equals, all right, negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 2 is 10. So that is 10. How about f of negative 1? That's 3 times negative 1 squared minus 2. F of negative 1. Well, negative 1 squared is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. The 3 minus 2 is 1. How about positive 1? F of 1 equals 3 times 1 squared minus 2. F of 1, and this looks kind of similar to that one, doesn't it? So 1 squared is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. Interesting. The last one I'll do, f of 2. 3 times 2 squared minus 2. F of 2. This looks similar to that one. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 2 is 10. So that one is 10. All right, now I can put these on the graph. Negative 2, 10. Negative 2, 10. Negative 1, 1. Negative 1, 1. I've got my vertex. Now I have 1, 1, and 2, 10. And you'll see these points, all right, they're the same y value, and they're the same distance from the axis of symmetry, right? Kind of looks like a butterfly if you put his wings together. All right, so this will look like that. If you graphed it on Desmos, it should look the same, and right there we have a minimum because it is the smallest possible value. So that's it. That's all I got for you. Good luck with this packet. Good luck on the mastery check. You got this. Dirkus out.